Did the draft order come out yet, Mike or Scott? You know,
Not for another hour, I think. We'll post it. Wait a minute, I got to do my thing.
I need
You
that
know
number
my
pick.
thing. And we are live. Welcome. I know I don't have anybody yet in here, but we will probably at 8 when it usually does, or if anybody gets their notifications when I get live. Uh, let's see here. First off, thank y'all guys for coming in. I know it's a little early. I really want to thank you guys.
Well, thanks for having us.
We're going to talk baseball. Really liking your setup in your room now, Dave, by the way.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I get distracted when you're showing cards, though. That's the problem. I keep pausing and looking at everything in the background. So I really like it going on, and really good. Mike, it's good to have you.
Appreciate you, having me once again. Feels like it's been forever.
Yeah, it feels like it's almost 6 days. But you've been getting some returns in. Really happy. I'm trying to pull this up. So let's see. I wanted to answer Dave. A bunch of reason I'm on early tonight is might take a little longer than an hour to talk about baseball because we got some baseball fanatics here, and also a 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 11 seconds. We have our draft. So I might do that live too. I might show that live while I'm going. I don't know yet.
Might as well.
Yeah.
So I draft the championship.
I want to just say before we get started, I didn't put it in my prep sheet for y'all, which wasn't much of a prep sheet. It was just bullet points mainly.
We're supposed to do homework for this?
Yeah, that WBC, you could put that probably potentially against World Series, tournament, NCAA tournaments, whatever. And man, for a tournament that nobody cares about, or a tournament that there we go, or a tournament that nobody supposedly the players playing in it cared about. Was that an awesome tournament or what? All the way through. Great stories, great games, well played baseball. What did y'all think about that tournament?
Well, I unfortunately didn't watch any of it, but I heard it was awesome.
What?
My job has been so jacked up that I just been working. So,
man, watch the games.
Ed, why don't you come move to Texas and you can come manage one of my stores so I don't have to.
Time to make the donuts, making the Benjamin.
I feel like Ed would like to move to Texas. I know he has a desire to transfer to being a Texas Rangers fan. Loves himself some Texas Rangers.
Hey, just go to South by Southwest down there and be fun for you, eh? But yeah,
thank you.
That WBC for hello Amari. The finals, that semifinals. I mean, nobody thought Mexico was going to take USA behind the woodshed and just give them what fors and what nots. I really, and the baseball has gotten better across the world, and that just proved it right there. Starting to be a global sport. Nothing like, soccer or anything, but oh my goodness. There we go. We're getting more and more Philly crew up in here for you, Mike. Don't
Thank you. Appreciate it. No, that World Baseball Classic was amazing. It was a great tournament, the whole thing. The world cares. I don't know how much America cares yet, though it did get way more attention in America, but the world cared. Social media, they were going with some of the numbers. I had heard, I forget the exact numbers, but it was something about the Bryce Harper home run in the NLCS. The clip on something, I think it was Fox Sports, whoever put it out. I guess Fox had the NLCS rights. The clip of that home run had like 2.9 million views, since whenever it happened in 4 months, 5 months. And the Trey Turner home run, the big home run, the grand slam, in like a 3-day time span on the same feed had 4.4 million views. So like it's getting a lot of attention both in the US and worldwide. The television ratings overseas, absolutely incredible. The excitement in the dugouts, the excitement in the stands, I think it opened a lot of people's eyes, and I think that's a great thing for baseball because there is boring baseball, but baseball itself is not boring. Baseball, when it matters, is unbelievably dramatic and just an absolute ton of fun to watch. And we see, in the World Baseball Classic, you're seeing the best of the best, right? For the most part, there are some weaknesses. I'd say the weakness for the Major League or for the Team USA is the pitching staff. They don't have the best of the best pitching staff. They do have the best of the best lineup. But other countries loading up on their pitching, and you're seeing high-quality baseball, and that's something that you can see when you watch Major League Baseball. A little more spread out in some ways, but I mean, the quality of talent in baseball right now is so far superior to any time in the history of baseball. I mean, I love the history of baseball, and you love to read and hear about all these guys who played pre-war times, vintage times, but like the best players of all time as a collective whole are playing right now against the best competition. And that's really not up for debate. I'm not saying some of the greatest players of all time didn't play in the past, but I don't think everyone went up with the same competition. And obviously, that's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah. And the one thing that came out of it is like expecting more ball players from outside of our hemisphere or whatever in the world of just the Americas. Be looking for more players coming from the Pacific Rim, Australia, the Asian countries, even Italy. I mean, I know most of those guys are MLB America players, but man, they still have players on there. I just thought the whole tournament was well done. Hey, what's up? Thank you, Nats man. So on to what we came for. MLB, the show, whatever. I've been playing the show all weekend. I got my new copy in, so I've been baseballing it up. But first I want to talk about is the new rules. What is in the new rules? Are we looking forward to them? Are we to do without them? I want to know. First off, we'll start with, I'll name them off. First is pitch timer, which has already been affecting some of the preseason games. 15 seconds with bases empty, 20 seconds with runners on. Hitter gets one timeout per plate appearance. Must be in batter's box within 8 seconds. Pitchers get 2 disengagements. Limits on pickoff attempts led to 20% increase in stolen base attempts and minors. The bases are bigger. We can skip to that when they're doing it. The pitch clock, is this going to speed the game up at all?
They want to speed the game up. Stop doing so many TV timeouts.
Exactly. That's what they don't have in minor league baseball, right? So when you compare it to minor league baseball, I just don't know if the pitch clock. I'm waiting for a real game, to come down to a pitch clock or something and watch the fans tear the stadium down. What are y'all's thoughts on the pitch clock? Is it needed? I don't think it's needed personally, but
I don't think it's needed. I think it's going to be a disaster, especially in the beginning. And I can see where like pitchers or hitters getting in there and or especially pitchers trying to get in there and make pitches quick. Probably maybe some more injuries. by not properly setting up and stuff like that. So I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be bad for the game. That's just my opinion.
I love the pitch clock. So far, I think it's gone over pretty well in spring training. MLB is desperately trying to get these games back to the average game time that it was in the 50s and the 60s. In the 50s and the 60s, the average game, I believe, was 2 hours and 20 minutes. Last year, the average game was well over 3 hours. You got batters stepping out after every single pitch. You got pitchers throwing multiple pickoffs. They're just trying to speed the game up. I think it's good. They have to do something. The games are going way too long, and they're just trying to get back to how the game was played in the 50s and the 60s. And if you think about it, they have MLB specifically. I know, like, there's things that they do that really infuriate me from time to time. I feel like this isn't one of them. But I will say they've been trying to get the players to move the pace of play faster. They didn't really want to put a pitch clock in. They've been gradually trying to tell the players, hey, speed up the game. Don't stop stepping out of the box every pitch. Let's move this along. They've been telling umpires to give warnings out the last couple seasons if players are dragging their ass. And guess what? It's not working. So now they have to put the pitch clock in. Now you have to move your ass. And it's a good thing. I like it. I think the games should flow a lot better. And I think it'll be overall. And if a team makes a mistake or a player makes a mistake by not knowing the rules, that's their own dumb fault. Like they've had an entire 2 months with this spring training and these new rules being laid out to know what the rules are. It's the manager's responsibility to communicate that to the players and to understand, hey, you only got this amount of time. Step in the box. Be prepared to hit. Stop scratching your ass.
It gets itchy though. It's sweaty. Great points though, Ed. Great. I mean, that's. Thank you for coming on too, Ed. I appreciate you. Mike said you need to get your priorities straight and be on here anyway. So, but anyway, I didn't say that. That's Mike said. Any thoughts on that, Mike?
I agree more so with Ed than Dave. I think the flow of the game is what is going to hopefully be affected in a positive way by the pitch clock. Now, I do think it's going to take some time because, let's be honest, a lot of regular players haven't played a lot, haven't had a lot of plate appearances in spring training, and some of that was hampered by the World Baseball Classic because they did not use these new MLB rules. They just had traditional rules. There's going to be some hiccups for sure. I would hope as the season goes on, guys will get used to it. It sounds like the testing they did in the minors from a lot of people I've talked to, guys got used to it pretty quick. They got into that habit. So I think it's going to affect guys like a Bryce Harper who, isn't going to get any type of preseason games in that with that. And he's just going to jump right into the season halfway through or so. And he's a guy who takes a long time. When he gets in the, he steps out and does his little thing to get himself settled. Now guys can do different things to get themselves checked in and mentally right, and they just have to correct that. They have no choice at this point. So there will be some hiccups, but I do think it will reduce the overall time of game a little bit for sure. But baseball has more to do besides that. That is an aspect because just people have no attention span. As someone who attends a game, I want a 4-hour game. Shit, I paid $30 for a ticket. Like, I want to be able to hang around there. I'm not in a rush to get out in an hour and 55 minutes. I feel like I got cheated,
Right.
But as a viewer, pace of play, keeping the games moving fairly quick is a good thing for sure. But Major League Baseball needs to maybe start some games a little earlier, specifically in the postseason. We shouldn't be starting World Series games at 8:30. No doubt about that. And they got to make these games more easily to view for the audiences out there, for sure. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to watch every home game easily. You want the youth to watch it, but everything's on cable now and things are getting blacked out and all that. So there's a lot of issues, in my opinion, that baseball needs marketing-wise. But I think it is a good step overall. I don't really have any issues with any of the new rules too much. My least favorite of the rules that they kept was the runner on second to start extra innings. If they want to do that starting in the 12th or something, so be it. But I don't love it. But it is what it is. I'm not going to
Only reason
not
I
watch
like
baseball
it at
because of it.
all is that was saving pitchers
Yeah.
innings. But I'd rather do almost a hockey where you have almost 3 guys dressed out, so you can have fresh pitching arms if you need it. Send them down and have a little bit easier way of sending pitchers up and down. That's a rule change I wish they would make. The other one is the shift restrictions. I've already seen teams on Gallo get around this by moving outfielders around because it's about infielders. So I they've been doing the shifts since beginning of baseball. Once players were, this isn't a new thing. It's just more of a fad when Madden started doing it a lot more with Tampa and all that. Now they do it all the time because guys are so pull happy. I don't really care either way. Anybody have any thoughts on that at all?
Well, I think if these guys that make millions and millions of dollars learned how to bunt, we wouldn't even have this conversation.
Right.
That's just, and you see it, third base is wide open. Why are you swinging?
Otani did it in WBC, big spot in the game. He bunted when they shifted on him to get on.
Yeah.
So I mean, they say you don't want your big bat because of the algorithms and all that stuff taken out, But I'm with you on that, Dave. I just think if the guys could hit, play pepper, you could get around that. But anyway, that's something that they're just going to move this to second base and a shortstop right over a foot from the bag. I've already seen it. They're playing it still right next to the bag. So it's not
it'll just lessen the shifts a tiny bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure help some guys, and maybe some teams won't shift as much, but we'll see how big of a difference it makes overall.
I mean,
you tend to not see guys bunt unless it's bigger games and such. I mean,
right.
To certain players, if they'd bunt every at bat, that would go away. But that's their game. That's the game baseball teaches now. They teach guys launch angle and to try and hit home runs. There's not many Tony Gwynns and those types of hitters around that are all about contact. There's a few here and there, but
that'll be something that's probably going to be on the future. One of my baseball episodes I'll be having is, can those guys play on today's games, in today's game? But that's a story for another day.
That rule change I'm more waiting to see. I think the jury's still out on the shift ban. I'm curious to see how much offense will increase, assuming offense increases, which, I mean, it really should with some of the egregious shifts that have been going on the last couple of years, some of the really analytical shifts. So offense should definitely go up. I'll be curious to see how far the league batting average goes up, or like the league on base percentage. So I think for that one specifically, it's kind of a wait and see to see how much that will affect baseball going forward.
Well, I don't understand as far as the shift rule. How did that? I mean, why? I didn't realize that was such a problem. I guess the owners or whenever they're in their meetings in Florida or wherever, and they're like, "Who brings that up?" Like, "Hey, let's research the shift."
I don't think it's
my guys can't bunt.
I don't think it's the owners. I think it's more the players' union and the players, because obviously decreased offense means lower salaries, lower payrolls, lower everything. So more offense equals more money for the players. So I think it's more of the players' union was kind of pushing for the shift, like a shift ban or bans to certain shifts. So I think that maybe was a concession MLB gave for the collective bargaining, but I don't know. I don't know as much about it though.
Right.
behind the scenes.
I think it was the Players Association. That was more of them, led by Gallo, crying. That was all these guys. Everybody's a pull hitter now. Nobody's a spray hitter. Nobody has opposite field pop. I mean, it's just I can't say nobody. The numbers are further down. It's like Mike said. It's how they're taught at an early age. When you start hitting now, they teach them how to keep their hands in and pull the ball. Battery brought up an interesting point. He did research. 2 hours, 41 minutes, and 95 for a Braves average game. I mean, they didn't play them Turner broadcasting. They got those games going. That my final question for rules changes: will Vogelbach get his first stolen base? Has anybody
Sounds like he's thinking about it on the commercials.
Yeah, that was the commercial though.
That the bases ain't that big. I just wanted to get that in there.
I hope he does.
The bigger bases, if it makes it safer, is that what they're doing it for? I mean, I know
supposedly that's one of the big reasons.
So
but
I play a lot of softball, and it started in my second decade of softball. They started having a red bag in foul territory at first base. If that's what you're trying to make safer, because home plate's the same. I don't know. You just given. If I could slide in a second, you just gave me more surface area to go to guy in second on a double play.
And I think the safety concern on a second base steal would be the person stealing, breaking. Well, not even necessarily stealing, but if you're going in a second, you're sliding, you're breaking up. 9 times out of 10, you're breaking up a play unless you're stealing.
Right.
So, to me, the league is very good about calling players out that are going off the base, court baseline, trying to take to break a play up on second base. Other than the steal and big boy trying to take it, he's got a good agent. Hopefully he's getting some residuals on the commercials.
Right. And my next question is, okay, so we got through that. What the next question is, Mike asked me why I single out one team. And this is something the last few years, and I know fans of this team in your state, you guys state, should MLB step in and do something with the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Yes.
Or is that a team that's just grossly so mismanaged and an owner that just wants to make money? It doesn't care about fans or the players either. I mean, he's willing to just be a minor league factory. Any thoughts? I think Major League should step in. They stepped in for the Expos. I feel the same way with Pirates.
Well, so when I was growing up, I would always hear people talk about the players and owners, and I remember that 94 baseball strike. Horrible year. Horrible strike. And I used to be more so just – I feel like the casual person's like, the players are rich. They make too much money, all that stuff. But in the history of baseball, the owners have been the problem 99% of the time. And obviously there's greedy players and all that stuff, right? But this is the problem with the way baseball's structured right now. It's great and it's awesome if you're a Mets fan and you got an owner that's willing to spend $300 million, literally spending more in payroll tax than more than half the teams in baseball. And, obviously as a Phillies fan, the Phillies are above the luxury tax too, right? So you got teams spending money, but then you got these cheap-ass organizations that aren't spending anything, and that is a huge problem. And I don't know how they solve it because it's hard to put in a salary, threshold bottom. I almost feel like there should be a tax where if you don't spend a certain amount, you get taxed some insane amount.
Right.
Literally, if you don't spend at least If you don't spend 70 million, you forfeit all revenue sharing and you pay something ridiculous where you wouldn't do that. Because I did see something, I don't have the graphic in front of me, obviously, but the other day it was the list of the top 5 valuable franchises, and then it was the top 5 teams taking a loss for the year. Mets were number 1 because obviously they bring in a lot of money, but they're spending more money than they can really profit on. And then it was the 5 teams making the most profit. And I know the team you were referring to, the Pittsburgh Pirates, were on that because they're getting so much in revenue sharing and spending so little. So it is a problem for baseball. It's a bad look for baseball. And I don't know what the answer is, but baseball needs to step in for the health of their sport because you have generations of kids, generations of fans that are losing interest in the sport in Pittsburgh because you got this cheap son of a bitch not spending money. And listen, there are teams that don't spend a lot of money that are successful. The Tampa Bay Rays, I don't know how you don't love that franchise. I get it, you're a division rival, you're not going to root for them, but talk about a franchise that does it right with a limited budget, with very limited fan support. They're literally in the playoffs or in the playoff hunt year after year. And if they're not, they find their way back. And you have other organizations like that. Cleveland does a great job. And it's what are you doing in Pittsburgh? You're retaining none of your players. You're not even doing a great job of developing players. But you got me and Ed paying for your stadium, out of our tax money. It's
bullshit.
It's a ridiculous situation.
Yeah, and that stadium is nice too.
Beautiful.
I just feel so bad for such a historic organization that has a great fan base. Such the history from my childhood with Bonilla and that group battling the Braves every year, and it's just nothing now. It's when they go to playoffs one year with Andrew McCutchen, and it's just
They finally had a 500 season, what was it, 6-7 years ago? They had 16, 17 consecutive losing seasons or something like that.
It might have been close to 20. And then they made the wild card 2 years in a row and then, slowly started falling apart. And now they're a cellar dweller again with no marketable stars.
That's one of the fans I was thinking about. Which one did they? I get them confused. Is Brian Hayes is the one?
They re-signed him to a sizable deal.
Right.
You mean?
But they got him. They signed him to an 8-year deal, but based on what he's done, they didn't have to pay a crazy amount. I mean, he did well for himself, but it wasn't one of these $200 million contracts.
Right.
You mean Colin Moran ain't a perennial superstar?
And they are a joke because Ed will laugh at this. You guys might not realize, but they did, and I don't know if you saw this, Ed. I forget if I shared it with you. Earlier this offseason, before they signed McCutchen, who was probably their biggest acquisition, and McCutchen's done. He's cooked, as Ed would say. He'll still – it'll be fun to watch if you're a Pirates fan. It'd be kind of cool, one last hurrah. But, he'll hit some home runs, but he's not close to the player he was back in his heyday in Pittsburgh. But a few months ago, they signed Vince Velasquez, who's a talented pitcher. He has a really good arm, but he's literally never put it together. He had one absolutely amazing start for the Phillies, and then he had some moments where he pitched okay, but look at his career stats right now. His ERA is 5.5. They had this whole big promo and did this video thing how they signed Vince Velasquez to a 1-year $5 million deal. It was so ridiculous. That's I was watching it and I'm I can't believe they're trying to pawn this off as a big acquisition.
Then the year before they signed Jared Eichhoff too.
They might have, but at least they didn't go on social media promoting it as if They acted as if they were like the Mets when the Mets signed Verlander, or the Phillies when they signed Trey Turner. It's like, dude, you just signed a guy with a 5.5 ERA who made 7 starts last year, and they're like trying to pump it up. I'm like, you guys are a joke.
Yeah, and I mean the best thing to do when you go to that stadium is eat the food, from what I understand.
If you go there, sit in the upper level behind home plate. Tickets will be cheap. Awesome view of the field. Then you got the view of the city skyline directly out there, the bridge with the river going by. It's a beautiful stadium.
Yeah,
Just unfortunately, you're watching,
A joke
don't
of a
know.
product.
poor high school baseball. Like, I mean,
4A, triple A baseball. Yeah, that's it. It's sad, and it makes me angry. As much as I love the sport, I love the game, because I think he's just. And I know there's other teams that do it, but he doesn't even try. Um, there's no want there to win. It's just how much money I can make as a business owner. Which, yes, that is part of it, but you can make money and win too. You just got to be more creative. So, which he just doesn't care. Enough about that. That makes my blood boil a little bit. Let's get on to the West Coast, and we'll start in the American.
they play
League.
baseball on the West Coast.
They try. There's a few teams that dabble out there. We're going to start with the American League. To me, the Mariners made it. Me and Mike talked about a little bit about this, I think, last week or the weekend before. I think they're coming into their own. Do you think this is the year they could put it together and go deep in a playoff run, or give the Astros a run? Or any thoughts on that one?
They're not going to overtake the Astros. They are stacked.
Well, we'll go. One's got a broken hand, so how long is Altuve out right now? Which sucks. I felt terrible when that happened. I know it probably was. There you go, buzzer beater, but
A lot of injuries in baseball, and the season hasn't begun, so definitely tough.
it's like that every year coming out of preseason. I mean, you said it. What did you say? The Braves are the only team that's in the National League. Well, we'll get to that later. I'm also so the Angels. Angels have no hope.
They're another joke.
Now Carlos made a great point. As much as I love Trout as a human being, and I hate to give Carlos credit, but he needs some credit on this one. He made a great point. The Angels need pitching. Why wouldn't you trade him and get 2 or 3 pitchers, and you probably make yourself a playoff team?
So the only problem with last year, though, their pitching was a bit improved, and their lineup was terrible last year, outside of the top 2. And those 2 guys, when they missed time, their next best hitter was Jared Walsh, who was kind of hit or miss. They had no depth last year, so they're just
right.
All I know is for the AL West, the Mariners definitely on the rise, and they're very good, and I hope they can reach the playoffs because I think Julio Rodriguez being a star is good for baseball. The Astros are the best team in baseball still. I mean, they have to prove it on the field, but we've seen it. I mean, they've been in the World Series, 4 of 6 years. Ed's rooted against them half the time, and they've, won the ones that I wish they would have lost and won the one that I wish they would have lost, if I said that right. Maybe I said that backwards.
I know what you're saying.
Pain.
But the Angels, I would love to see win the division or at least make the playoffs because I think we saw Ohtani and Trout on the big stage, and that was great for baseball. It is amazing that they have not – it's not just that they've fallen short or lost in the playoffs. They haven't even played meaningful games in September.
Right.
I feel like that's got to – they got to
try July.
True, but they got to find a way to make that change. And this is probably their last shot because Ohtani's a free agent at the end of the year. If they're not competitive, that's going to be more reason for him to leave, besides the fact that he's going to set all-time records. Pending health, he's going to set records for the richest contract in baseball history in the offseason.
And he's going to probably end up somewhere on the Northeast and really be making not only baseball money, but whatever
Yeah,
else.
just hopefully he's not wearing blue and orange. I hope he's not dressed like you two.
I mean,
Um,
I would
but we'll
think
see.
I would think Otani is potentially going to get moved at the deadline this year.
I mean, it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. I think it's going to depend on where they're at, and I would think that they want to do everything they can to sign him because he is probably the face of baseball at this point. I mean, I know people want to say it's Mike Trout, but I think Otani is certainly a bigger worldwide star and possibly, if not yet, going to be a bigger star in this country. And you got the Oakland A's, who are another, mess of a franchise. And I think we're just waiting to see if or when they will shift to a new city once again. Should have stayed in Philly.
You made a
Wrong
great
team left.
You made an interesting statement. You said he's going to be a worldwide star. Is this like a type where he could be like a level of a soccer player star around the world? Or
I mean, I'm sure he already is in Japan. It's just
Japan.
Is he going to continue to, he got tons of attention, obviously, during the World Baseball Classic. But if he can continue, it's hard to say. You got to see where the numbers go. But I honestly think if he can do what he's done the last 2 years for 3 more years, to me, I don't see why he wouldn't be a Hall of Famer. Now, I'm a what have you done for the sport type of guy when it comes to the Hall of Fame, as opposed to, I do think length of career matters, but I mean, you can't tell me that Don Mattingly wasn't more impactful for baseball than Don Sutton or Craig Biggio. I mean, that's just the way I feel. So I think Otani is on his way to that. And, just the fame and the attention he's bringing to baseball, I think, is huge.
You think his hobby is going to go through the roof with that then?
I mean, it already has always had a bump, I think, from the Japanese collectors. I'm sure it will continue to a degree. I mean, he probably has, of the big stars, he probably has the best potential to rise again. Now, there's a lot of his stuff out there, so he's, 5-6 years into his career. But
so who makes the most money right now? I can't remember which contract is the highest per year. That's not like a short-term one; it's a long-term more.
Long-term? Yeah, I'd have to look it up.
Probably
I don't
32,
remember.
35. What did Judge get?
I mean, the starting pitchers have gotten paid the most. It's the Mets guys, but they're only got 3-year deals.
3-year deals, yeah.
Yeah. But I think what Manny Machado his
what Judge get? Judge probably set the record, I would think. What did he get 30 or is he a little below? You'd have to look up the numbers, but
I
That
think
jinx
So
is
do
off
you
the
think-
hook, too.
You think Otani gets 10 years, 400 million?
I mean, we'll see how many years he gets, but he might get 50 million a year. If I don't know how many years he'll get, but if he has, he's got to have another year like he's had the last 2 years, where if he hits 40 home runs, wins 15 games, I mean, that plus the star power, we'll see.
When's Stanton's contract come off the Yankees? Is it
I'm
after
sure
this year?
I feel like he's still got another 5 or 6 years, but I might be wrong.
My dad says something like, Dad, he's still under contract for.
He signed like a 10, 12-year contract, didn't he?
Miami.
How long's he been on the Yankees? 5, 6 years?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't think Otani's the kind of player that wants to sign a very, very long contract. He's mentioned multiple times, especially I think to the Japanese media, that he's over here to win. He's not over here not to play meaningful games in July.
He is
and
right
be
now.
eliminated in June. He's here to win. So I'd be shocked if he stays on the Angels. I think the Angels are kind of getting that sense too. I mean, they have to put it out there that they're going to do everything humanly possible to re-sign him and lock him up. But I mean, put yourself in Otani's shoes. There's a player that he plays with that did that, and he hasn't, like Trout, they haven't made the playoffs yet. So Otani wants to win. That's the sense I get from him. He wants to play in October. He wants to be in the World Series. So I think when he does, if he does get traded or if he doesn't get traded, when he has the opportunity to decide his fate, he's going to want to maybe get like a 3 to 4 year deal on a team that has a legitimate chance to make the playoffs.
I don't know, but
But
if Anthony
I'd be-
Rendon's making $38 million this year, then I'd say Otani's worth about $250 million. So
Oh, he'll get stupid money, no doubt about it, and he deserves it. But I just don't see him taking like one of these like a Bryce Harper or a Stanton level deal where he's going to sign away like 10 to 13 years of his life to be with one organization. I think he's just going to do maybe like a 3 to 4 very high annual salary to be on a contender.
I think he knows the star power too. I would be surprised if he's not a Dodger, a Yankee. I mean, you've got to throw the Mets in there because obviously they have a lot of stars now, and what's his name's willing to pay anything. Like, if the Yankees offer 55, he might offer 60 a year. Like, he's unpredictable. Like,
Right.
I mean, he gave Verlander and Scherzer both who have shown their age $35 million. So,
Dumb money. Yeah. My last team, real quick, and that was great. 'Cause I have a funny feeling I wouldn't be not surprised with this last bit of the Angels that we see Otani and maybe even Trout traded if the Angels take.
You won't be doing 4-7 because we have my draft
It
afterwards.
wouldn't be to start rebuilding because it's not working. It's not working.
we'll see.
And I've heard some rumors that Trout wants out. I wouldn't be surprised if the Phillies pull off some deal by mid-season. So
Ed'd be upset.
huh?
Ed would be
Ed-
upset. He used to want Trout. Now he wants no part of him.
I think he has a full no trade clause so in his contract.
I think the Philly he can
He-
waive it if he wanted to.
I doubt that. He had an opportunity to come here and he didn't want no part of it.
Ed,
Well,
Ed writes a letter to the Eagles owner every day. He sends a letter in the mail to the Eagles owner asking them to revoke his season tickets. He
No,
sends 350 letters a year, and it hasn't worked yet.
There's
So-
nothing more annoying than watching the Eagles every Sunday, and every single Sunday, every quarter of the game, they have to show Mike Trout. Like, show my boy Kevin Hart, okay? Kevin Hart's at the game. Show my boy Bradley Cooper. He's at the game. Why do they insist on showing Mike Trout every single quarter for every single Eagles game for 18 stinking weeks? It is so annoying.
You ever want to get Ed's blood boiling? Just mention Trout at the Eagles games.
I see.
Don't let him get started on his special seating. Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
Didn't Ed just buy like a Trout rookie like a year and a half ago? Getting all excited for it.
Yeah, returned it to home. Well, my next team that they built a stadium and had a terrible team is the Texas Rangers. They did that all back ass.
Oh, I forgot about them.
Yeah, they're easy to do.
Most forgettable franchise in baseball.
Aren't you
maybe.
supposed to build a team to have a good team in your new stadium? They built the stadium and they must have did the cornfield. If you build it, they will come.
They built a stadium and couldn't even play in it. Couldn't have fans in it because of the pandemic.
Yeah, they had to have the playoffs and all of it in there for the season. But anyway,
It's nice in there though.
they made some nice changes. They made some huge additions. We got DeGrom who might get 10 starts. Do they make any moves?
No.
I don't think so.
No, they might play some 500 baseball.
No.
Yeah, I think I think they'll be 500. Yeah.
Yeah,
If DeGrom's healthy, they'll have at least some good games with him pitching.
So
They're not going to score much.
what is your definition of DeGrom's being healthy? How many starts is that?
Maybe one stop on the disabled list for a couple weeks.
I mean that.
Are you counting he
starts,
starts and he
if he
actually
gets
finishes
20
like he's supposed to?
I don't. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
if he gets 20 to 25,
I don't think he's going to get that many. So,
But it's sad that that's what you would absolutely sign up for if you're a Rangers fan. But that's the
Right.
reality of what he has been. Fantastic talent, really fantastic pitcher, just chronically injured. I think the Rangers will have some moments. They're certainly going to have some big wins and stuff. I think at least bringing in some of these players makes them a little more relevant. But honestly, I don't know that they've spent their money in the wisest way. So even if it does work for a year and they can be in the playoff hunt, I don't know that it's good long term. Corey Seager's a really good player. He showed how good he was in that World Series run with the Dodgers. But like he hasn't really been a superstar throughout his career season to season. Marcus Semien,
that
he's
man's
kind
going to fight you.
he's kind of
Talking
like
about Corey Seager,
he's kind of a decent player. Corey Seager's a really good player. Is he a $25-30 million a year player for 12 years?
No.
He couldn't
Semien,
be at the Dodgers.
same
I mean,
thing.
No.
but the
And then
Dodgers,
and then
nobody that plays
DeGrom
for the
and then
Dodgers is
and
that.
DeGrom is always hurt. So it's like I just don't know that these contracts are going to age really, really well. They're going to have to really develop a lot of good young players to kind of make up for it going forward.
I think Corey made a smart move going to the Rangers. That's where he wanted to go. He wanted to go there to the Yankees. And
Yeah, he settled in. He did well. I know he bought a house
Yeah.
and all kinds of stuff right after he signed. But
and they but the problem is the Dodgers. I mean, look at the Dodgers organization. You can't say they've got one or two. These are their top two guys because everybody is so good on that team. You could take anybody off that team and move them to a subpar team, and they're a superstar compared to the Dodgers to a certain extent within the league. But they've got so many good players on there. There's no, in my opinion, there's no true leader. There's no true superstar because it seems like it changes from week to week.
Everyone knows what the key to success is for the Dodgers. I mean, they got the best grounds crew in the game, obviously.
True.
Right. That's right.
That they play on that perfect field.
So that's enough with Texas and if Central, does anybody care? I mean, we got the
Nina
White Sox.
Nina
Yeah,
Espinal.
Nina S.
Yeah,
Come
sorry,
on.
Nina.
What
The
about
White
Reindeer
Sox.
Studios? He's going to bop you on the head.
Yeah, sorry. The White Sox are they going to finally be a team that everybody expected them to be?
If Eloy and Lou Bob stay healthy.
They're pitching. They're pitching. They can't get their starters to all be great starters at the same time. One's good, the other ones are not. They just can't get it together. That team.
Speaking of the White Sox, whatever happened to all those Lou Bob collectors?
We're still here.
He's got his White Sox shirt on.
They all disappeared. What happened to them?
I don't know. I had somebody wipe me out on my stuff.
The Central, Cleveland's really good. They're good. And they're young and good, and they're doing it with that limited payroll. The White Sox, I think, to me, they were one of the bigger disappointments in baseball last year. Things just didn't go their way. I thought they were going to be I thought they were one of the locks to reach the postseason, and obviously it didn't happen. It's obviously going to come down to health. Eloy's been hurt the last couple years. Roberts never played. He hasn't played a full season.
Nope.
He's played a couple half seasons. So their biggest stars have been banged up. The pitching. So that's going to be their issue. I mean, their closer, Hendricks, I don't know if he's pitching at all or not. I know he had bad diagnosis during the offseason. So you have those two teams. The Tigers are still rebuilding, even though I think Ed tossed money on the Tigers to win the division as an underdog pick once they got his boy Nick Maton in a trade. Ed's a big Nick Maton guy, if you guys didn't know. And who else is in that division? What do we got? We got Kansas City. Kansas City.
You forgot the Royals.
The Royals have some good young players. They are on the rise, but I don't think they're – I think a really good year this year for them would be like 80 wins. And who else am I forgetting about out there in the Central?
Minnesota.
Yeah,
Twins.
the Twins are weird. they're kind of hit and miss year to year too. They usually stay fairly competitive, but they made bizarre
They know
deals.
they need pitching, so they traded Araza to get quality pitching to try to compete with the Yankees when they need to really compete within their division.
Yeah.
I think they got to get through their division, which are a lot closer to the teams in their division than they are to the Yankees.
Do they still have Gary Sanchez? Because if they do, they're not going nowhere.
Yeah, but he doesn't catch. He's their DH. He's not
Even worse.
yeah.
That should be a competitive division though, because like I see Cleveland as a potentially 90-win team. I think the White Sox have that capability. The Twins, like they'll be in the mix. Like it should be a fun division from that standpoint. Teams like Kansas City, they could be the type of team that has a really good first half, wins like 44 games, and then fades late in the season as their younger guys wear down. So
right. And I mean, they pushed to have Bobby Witt on Team USA so he can learn from the other guys. So I think that's a great player in the making there. So now we're going to go to the East. We have, of course, the Yankees. Boston. Will Boston be the same team they were last year, or was that a fluke season? Was that just, or is that who they are? I mean, they just weren't good last year.
Their frontline ace is Nick Pivetta, so
That's true.
Take what you will from that.
Right. That is 100% true.
This could potentially be the most competitive, the best, the deepest division in baseball.
I think you're 100% right. That's why I kind of left it to the last, because the team I want to talk about, we're going to talk about it last, and I know Ed wants to talk about that team as well. Because the Yankees, to me, Yankees have always been built on a great seasoned team. Like they're going to get 106, 107 wins, whatever, but they have trouble against good pitching in playoffs because they're not built for that. I feel like that. I tell people that year after year. But having them good, I think, is what makes baseball fun to watch. Is either root for them or hate to root for whatever way you. Tampa Bay, we know they're going to be right there battling for a playoff spot again somehow, some way. And then we're going to get Toronto. Is this the year that they put it together?
2 years ago was the trailer. Last year was the the opening weekend flop. Will this year, be the movie that they promised last year?
Right. Yeah, I think it'd be good for baseball for them to get it together with all that young talent they have, with sprinkled in.
Sounds like someone's got a Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero portfolio that they want to see rise.
I do not, but you know what cards I have. I do not, and I do have some Bo Bichettes, though. Not just say that, but I don't sell. But
hey, maybe Kevin Biggio will finally step up, and then Ed will
is he even
be the happiest guy in the world.
He's bad, man. He can't put the ball in play to save his life. That's what happens when you watch the games, though. You watch the games and you're like, God damn, this guy really can't hit. He can't put the ball in play.
Say what's up.
Yeah.
What's up? Hello.
Hey.
Night, Livy.
Now we're going to get to, I think, mine and Ed's second team. We share this with Baltimore. My first in AL. I really do like this team. You put them in almost any other division, they probably win it. Most divisions. Them building that wall out higher out in left field really helped. Their pitching last year, they picked up a little bit more pitching this year, but man, they got some young talent. Just building. They remind me of the Oakland team when they put Oakland 2 years before they made their World Series runs on the front cover of Sports Illustrated. Man, I really do. They're going to be fun to watch. I hope they can have a winning season and be battling for a wild card spot. Uh, Ed, what is your thoughts on the Baltimore Orioles, and who are you collecting off the Orioles now?
They should definitely be scoring a lot of runs. I mean, offensively, they got a lot of young kids, so they're going to be hungry. But their big off-season acquisition was Kyle Gibson, who's their opening day starter. That their last year's opening day starter was Jordan Lyles. So
Right.
is that an upgrade for Kyle Gibson to Jordan Lyles? I don't know, but
Yeah.
their pitching is still. I don't know the right verbiage.
So
to use
Rodriguez, when is he supposed to make his debut? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I do know that the selling point of the team is going to be Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. So
That's the selling point of 2023 Top Series 1 as well.
Yeah, that is what to watch for. And I want to see if Mountcastle can continue his power stroke. I mean, I think he had close to 30 homers last year. So,
Yes.
I mean, he's a nice young player to watch. They got a lot of nice young players. Unfortunately, they just don't really have any
Cedric
pitching.
Mullins. I think he has quite a few Gold Gloves in his future. Hit a home run in the USA, even though it was in a blowout game. I just think the fielders they have, if they could get any pitching, and they got some at the end of last year. They just ran out of gas. It looked like, man. I hope they can get it together, put it together for us closet Oriole fans. Let's see. Let's hope. Anybody else have any thoughts on the East or the Orioles?
Dave, what are your thoughts on the Yankees? What are those expectations?
That's what I've been waiting on.
I don't know. I don't know if they have the pitching. I mean, I don't even know who. I mean, beside who that Cole, and who's their other starter? I don't even know who their other number 2 guy is.
I guess they got the old
I don't think they know yet.
the old Pirates guy, right?
Luis Severino, right?
Well, Severino, if he's healthy.
Then Cole. Well, Cole's number 1.
Yeah.
Tyon. Is Tyon back there, or did he sign elsewhere?
Then you got Nasty Nestor.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Yankees are going to score a lot of runs, and they're going to struggle somewhere. And I mean, if LeMahieu is healthy, at least he's going to be a very good hitter. Glaber, what's he going to be? Is he a 260 hitter with 25 home runs? That's he should be closer to hitting 300, but he's probably at 260. Stanton, can he stay healthy all year? I don't know if Judge will have the same year as last year. I doubt it.
I mean, it's going to be a difficult season to duplicate. You just, even though it would be a fall off, you'd probably have to sign up for, say, high 40s, 100 RBIs and in around 300. Like,
he always has a chance though in that stadium he plays in.
No doubt. I guess Tyon went to the Cubs, didn't he? So I don't know their staff beyond the first couple.
Rodon signed with them this year.
That's true. He's banged up. He's one of the many stars in baseball who will not start the season on time, unfortunately.
Is Gleyber Torres finally going to do something this year?
Oh, that's some good news. That's some news for hobbyists right here. Volpe got the nod for
Top Series 2 or update.
Probably update.
Or held off for 2024.
Yeah. But that we've been waiting for Volpe for several years now. And I found out yesterday that Beatty and Beatty will be starting in AAA, and so will the other guy that's been playing up at third base for the Mets. Haven't heard anything on the catcher. I don't understand why Beatty's starting down. They're going to let Eduardo start at third, but we'll see. Short leash, I hope.
I like when we go into the year with a competitive division where we don't necessarily know who's going to win it, and we don't really know the order. So I think it'll be a fun division to follow. Like you said earlier, the Rays are in it year in and year out. Like they're going to be 84 to 94 wins. the Yankees are going to probably be a really good regular season team. Can they do enough to be successful in the postseason? I think will be the bigger question mark with them. The Blue Jays, uber talented. The Orioles, like you said, crazy amount of talent there. Can they do it for the full season? And then I think the Red Sox are the worst team in the division, but they seem to kind of go every other year where they have a bad year, a good year. So it wouldn't shock me if they somehow have a solid year.
Right.
And, you know, we got another, you know, international star there in Boston, Yoshida. So he turned some heads during the World Baseball Classic. So that'll garner them some attention.
Yeah, it sure did. And here's my other thought. We didn't talk about this, and not really a rules change, but with the National League East, all teams playing all teams this year, so they're going to play less games against each other. They're not going to beat up on each other. That's a little bit more wins, and they're padding there for the wild card spots. Wouldn't you think that? I mean,
yeah, the more balanced schedule. That's something that I think has been very. Because of the other rule changes, I don't think a lot of people go in realizing it. Like the Phillies and Mets aren't going to play that much this year. They would play in the past 18, 19 games, and now I think it's more like 9 or something.
To me, for a Mets fan, I always got mad because we had to play the Yankees like 12, 13 times, and nobody else in the division had to play them at all necessarily. And then, you know, the Phillies got to play the Pirates. Or not the Pirates. The Phillies got to play. Who they play? Baltimore.
At one point, it was Baltimore, and then it shifted. And then at some point, I guess after the Nationals, it shifted to Boston. They would seem to play Boston a lot.
Right. Well, that's not. I mean, but you know, Tampa gets to play the Marlins. I mean, you know, it's not an even playing field when you do that. With this, everybody play. I'm not a big fan of it. I wish they would just make it the American League and the National League and stop and go away from divisions altogether and put the top, you know.
I don't mind the interleague play. I like getting to see some different teams. Okay. I hate it during, like, I don't like opening day against the Texas Rangers. It just feels weird to me. Even though they played the Rangers on opening day a few years ago, probably like 5 years ago. But it's weird when you have an interleague game to start your season, even though the rules are all the same now with the DH and stuff, so it doesn't feel as different. It's just kind of a bizarre way to start your year.
You should just came to Texas, and then it wouldn't be weird at all.
I thought a whole lot about going to that game with you, Dave, but didn't end up doing it. Got to save some money for a trip to Chicago in a few months.
We talk about that. That's another story too. So thank y'all guys over here for adding a lot to our conversation with information that leaves my brain very easily. I think the balanced schedule is a plus. I just wish they do old school American League, National League with no, just have 2 leagues, no divisions. What's the use of the divisions at now if you're going to do it that way? That's kind of how I feel about it. But let's go back to the National League, and we'll do the East last since we all have that's our teams. We'll go to the West. Dodgers are going to have some company this year. They're not going to just be able to walk away with it. Padres definitely better. They've made some huge additions. Nobody really talks to them as much as they do about the Mets. But, man, they have added some payroll to their lineup this year. Any thoughts on them? I mean, they're –
over under, how many times did the Padres score 20 runs? Over under set at 1.5. Because it's hard to score 20 runs in a major league game. But that lineup – if they're all going at the same time, is ridiculous.
What do you think?
Juan Soto, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis when he's healthy. That's like 4 of the top offensive players in the league.
I think
insane.
They're going to be averaging over 5 runs a game.
And let's not forget Will the Thrill Myers.
That's
I think isn't he looking for a job? I thought he took a job at like Papa John's or something. I thought
I
Dave
fire him.
hired him recently.
Every year they thought about trading him, and they can't. Nobody wants him. Don't here. We're trading Hosmer. It will. Well, they don't want Will Myers. But yeah, that team. I mean, they got so much. Man, that lineup is just—that's an all-star lineup they have. I mean, incredible lineup, and I can't wait till they play the Dodgers. Giants. I don't think they're gonna be.
Thank you, Amish Dave.
Oh, he signed in Cincinnati. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, okay. Did they want
Well,
him?
who's their pitchers? Snell and Darvish.
Joe Musgrove with the earwax. Who else they
I
have?
could
That
probably pitch for him and get about 5 wins with that
Snell.
offense.
I mean, that division, I think it's a 2-horse race for the most part. The Dodgers are obviously really good. They won 106, 107 games last year. The Padres, everyone seems to forget very quickly that they were in the NLCS. They were a couple of games away from the World Series, and they added to their team. So I think those two teams are both going to be really good. The Giants did win 100 games 2 years ago. I think they played above their heads, and then last year they struggled. They won about 80. I think they're okay. They unfortunately have missed out on the last 5 big superstars they've attempted to sign. I think they'll be a competitive team though. And then Arizona does have some good young pieces, but they're a ways away. And Colorado's I wouldn't expect to be very good.
Chris
But
Bryant.
yeah, that was a bad signing. I don't
Made
I
no
don't
sense.
understand that signing from the perspective of they literally paid money and lost money to trade Arenado a year before, and then you went and
Right.
dumped similar type of money on a lesser player
Exactly. Made no sense.
at an older age. It's like I think that's something where ownership probably shouldn't be involved in that process, or the general manager should be fired immediately. But whatever. Maybe he'll have a bounce back year.
Right. So Dodgers going to win because they have the best field crew out there. That's what Ed said earlier.
It's all about Dodgers MVP, Pepino, man. YouTube Hall of Famer.
Every blade of grass is cut perfectly on that field. So the Dodgers have a slight edge over the Padres because of the field.
Go out to the Central. I mean, you got the Cardinals.
Pirates, baby. This is their year.
Pirates. How many wins? 40, 45?
What are their odds to win that division?
I would love.
Oh, you know what? I'm looking this up now. Give me a minute.
I can guarantee everyone watching this, there's not a doubt in my mind before opening day that Ed will definitely put at least $1 bill on the Pirates to win the division, especially when he sees the odds are like plus 7,000 or something. Those odds got to be bad. The Central, I mean, the Cardinals, obviously very good. They're one of the more consistent franchises in baseball. I'd expect them to be good. I think the Cubs will improve a little bit, probably not to the point of reaching the postseason, but they should be a little bit better. What else we got out there? Cincinnati's bad. They're not very good. They're building for the future. The Pirates, obviously, we talked about. They're not so good either.
There's our draft.
You got to think that
What is that starting
NL
now?
Central. The NL Central is the worst division in baseball now.
There's got to be another team I forgot. Who else? Who did I not mention?
I'm sorry, I was getting the draft up there for Dave. So you got Cardinals, Cubs,
Brewers.
Brewers. The Brewers are a weird team. They're like a bad good team, I would think. Like they'll be competitive. They could win the division. They could win a wild card. They have 2 really good starters, a good bullpen, not a very good lineup. So like they're like an 80 to 90 win team. They can bad year they win 80 games, good year they win 90 games.
Corbin Burns
The
ain't
Pirates-
staying.
The hardest
The Pirates are plus 8,000.
Yep, there goes $1 out of Ed's pocket. Next time he goes
$80
by what's it called? Philly Park.
The So the hardest decision Milwaukee's got to make is at the trade deadline: are they buyers or sellers? That's their problem every year because they're right there at that. Are we buyers or sellers? And I think they're always sellers because you're just good. If you're buyers, you're just trying to get into the playoffs. But there's only one thing: you're there to win the World Series, and that's it. They just need to kind of start looking that way, I think.
And the Brewers have got the problem too, is that they've got players. I think they're not 24, either by 2025 or 26. They're going to lose like their big guys for their team on contracts.
Well, is Steve Braun still there? Like the
Ryan Braun?
Huh?
Who?
What's his
Who?
name?
Ryan Braun. Ryan Braun?
Yeah, Ryan Braun. Whatever. Steve Braun was the pitcher.
Steve Braun.
Ryan Braun retired, I think, a couple years ago.
And did he? It feels
he's
like
gone,
he's still
man.
there. Good God. I don't watch Milwaukee. If they're on,
But Yelich is there still, I think, right?
The thing
Yeah,
you
like-
need to know about Milwaukee is incredible pitching, really great pitching, but they can't hit shit.
Good drama.
Ed the other night after the big Phillies injury couldn't sleep. He was having nightmares that the Phillies were going to acquire Castanera, who's like one of his most disliked baseball players. Ed's petrified of that acquisition coming.
now have they said what they're going to do about first base at Philly?
Ed's
before long
Ed's
ball
little
Hall.
ego there is
I
expected
know,
to start,
I know
but we'll
what
see.
you got there, but I mean,
3
unless
words: long ball hall.
I hear you.
Ed's
Draft
going to
him
do
in
a
your
video
fantasy
pumping
league.
his cards.
Oh, Jesse Winker is now a Brewer. I did not know that.
Lucky Brewers fans.
I mean, that should have been a move they made 3 years ago. Not right now.
So the Cardinals walks away with that division. Is that what we're saying?
I would
No, the
expect the,
Brewers will
Cardinals
be
to
in
win,
there
but the
because of the
Brewers will be
pitching.
competitive, and I think the Cubs should be around a 500 team this year. I think
They
they're
did make
making
some
some
good
slow improvements.
Yeah.
Cody Bellinger, he's playing for a contract, so the guy has
now
won an
another.
MVP. You'll see. He could hit 195, or he could
Wait, he's on the Brewers though,
hit
right?
40. Bellinger, no, he's with the Cubs.
He's on the Cubs.
Got a 1-year deal with the Cubbies.
Yep.
Gonna hit some balls in the wind that go out, get himself a big contract, and then go back to the every other year thing.
Right.
They got
So,
oddly
they got
enough,
a good mix of vets and new players with the sticks. So they're thinking about it.
Bellinger
I
should be
forgot about
okay.
that. This is a pretty big. I forgot about this pickup for the Cubs, Dansby Swanson.
Yeah.
So who's playing shortstop? What all-star is playing shortstop for the Braves now?
It's not Grissom because he, I believe, got option to the minors. I'm sure Carlisle will have a answer for us.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking, but I probably don't even need to look. Arcia?
Orlando Arcia. Or is Waldo Arcia?
That's Orlando.
Oh, yeah, Lou, I saw that. Yeah, number 1. Otani's coming to the MLCC.
Where's Mike O? That's all that matters.
I posted it a minute ago. Let's see.
Does
I'm
anyone find
watching
it
on my
kind
phone.
of? Does anyone find
third,
it kind
Mike.
of funny that Bellinger went to a team where in that state marijuana is legal?
I knew Ed was going to say something like that.
Who went there?
Bellinger, he went to the Cubs. That's in Illinois, Chicago.
Yeah.
Marijuana is legal there. Weed man.
So
Cody Bellinger is weed man.
Maybe he went there for the restaurant you like out in Chicago. Maybe he'll be there every other week.
I mean, he probably
I'd
will
rather
eat
not.
there every day after smoking up.
So
Weed
we'll
man.
go to the National League East, the best division there was, and ever will be.
Three really good teams, two young teams, hopefully on the rise.
Oh, that's a nice spin on that.
Really?
Yeah,
So is that which one is Miami?
Thanks.
Miami, made some. They got Luis Ariz, the darling of one of the darlings of the 2020 baseball card hype. So he did win a batting title last year, hit a couple home runs in the WBC. People were buying his cards after he hit those 2 home runs in the World Baseball Classic. Like he got the WBC bump.
Yeah. But that's the only way they can sell their stadium out.
The best thing about the Marlins this year is going to be the home games, the Flashback Fridays, where they wear those original Marlins all teal uniforms. They're going to be wearing them, so that'll be kind of interesting.
The actual Ray on it.
It's got the F. It's got the fish around it. Bright teal hats.
Oh, okay.
Well, they're doing it out of necessity since they overpaid for what's his name, Louis Ayres, or whatever you say his name. They're having to go back to those old uniforms. I can't even afford nothing new.
Maury says Miami scares him this year.
They do. They have some pieces. They got Jazz, who's the face of the baseball game you're playing, right?
Well,
MLB The Show.
It's weird because Jeter is called the Captain Series, so it's more about Jeter, and then you put it in, and it's about Jazz Chisholm. It's weird. So
They got awesome pitching. They just suck at hitting.
They don't suck at hitting when they play the Phillies. I'll tell you that. Mike O can tell you that.
Specifically before last year.
I hope
Superman had kryptonite.
The Marlins are not a good team, but when they play the Phillies, they're like world beaters. It's so infuriating as a Phillies fan when we play the Marlins because like the biggest scrubs, the salt of the earth scrubs that are on their team, like Garrett Cooper, Brian Anderson.
Garrett Cooper was an all-star.
They'll go like
years
5
ago.
for 5. 5 for 5, 4 for 4. And oh man, we've gotten torched so many times by like random no names who just will go completely off. And now they got Gene Segura, I believe. So watch him like bat like 400 against the Phillies.
I'd be absolutely shocked if they don't win a game in the bottom of the ninth on a walk-off hit by Gene Segura against the Phillies at least once this year.
You think they'll move the Marlins if they suck again this year? You think they're going to move them out of Miami? Because there's always talk about moving them.
I find it hard to believe because they have the newer stadium. I don't see
Tampa's
it. I think
Tampa
Tampa Bay is more likely, and obviously Oakland. I'd be shocked if Oakland doesn't move, and I kind of, at this point, like expect them to move. I would like to see Tampa move, but I don't necessarily think it'll happen. I think there's going to be 2 expansion teams announced for baseball within the next 2 years.
Let's get through this and we'll get to the expansion. So
I don't think Miguel Rojas is on the Marlins anymore. So as a Phillies fan, I'm thankful for that because I'm pretty sure he's like a 240 hitter regularly, but against like the Phillies, he's like a 375 hitter.
375.
It's like
probably more like 450.
It's so annoying. It is so damn annoying.
Nats, man. What are the Nats, man? What are the Nats going to do this year? What are they? Obviously they're in rebuilding mode. We know that they traded.
The biggest highlight for the
the
Nationals
star
for 20
of the team.
So the 2023 highlight for me, and probably most National fans, would be not on the field playing, but them actually sell to an owner that gives a damn. It's bad.
They got
we got they got good players, but it's like
solid up the
truly rebuilding. There's guys on there that I think are going to do great long term. Abrams, Ruiz, Cazell. Those 3 right there.
Is Mackenzie Gore healthy? I haven't paid attention this spring. He was one of the acquisitions in the Soto deal.
I know. Well, they just made an announcement. I had treatment on Friday, and I hadn't even looked, to be honest. But I know they did a bunch of moves on Friday, and I think they mentioned his name. I think they designated him down to minor league ball, I think, to start out with. I think
Strasburg,
I knew it was somebody. I don't know. We need to find out, and he needs to be like paying the team back. That was about the stupidest thing. You ask Scott. You gonna get my blood pressure shot up talking about
That when they did it,
Oh.
the worst
God,
thing happened was him winning that MVP.
They're going to be playing Carter Kaboom every day, right?
Yeah,
I don't even.
Yeah.
Is he still? Is he playing or? Is
He
He's
hurt. He
minor.
got hurt last year, so he didn't play.
yeah. He did surgery again. They did surgery on him again, and he's down in the mine. Will be trapped for the minors. I don't see him getting called up unless
I think the only good
Lord
thing,
comes back.
I mean, obviously it's a tough situation for the Nationals and being a Nationals fan, but I would rather be bad, know I'm bad, and actually rebuild and develop young players than when you get. That was the Phillies' problem for a while. For a few years, they tried to hang on to what they had in
There you go,
the
Nats, man.
07, 08, 09, 10 run. And they just spun their wheels for a few years with 500 teams. And then they just got worse and worse and worse. And then they just got themselves into a hole. So hopefully, for your sake, the Nationals will – some of these guys that they acquired for Soto will develop into stars, to big league players. They'll be able to get some international guys, draft well, and then add some, veteran talent via free agency, when the time is appropriate.
Luis Garcia, I threw him up there. Luis Garcia, Amari said, there at the time, Soto was coaching him and hitting, and they said that Garcia, the talk with the national, groups and stuff was that they were saying he was the next Soto, was Garcia for the Nationals. So, yeah, Mike, you need just to do a episode where you go down and you do every team because you've been pretty much spot on on all this stuff. Man, that's pretty good. Cricket.
So we'll move on to Hot Atlanta, which Mike made the statement they're the only team that's healthy. I'm sure
Of the
we'll
big
have
three, at least.
Battery here gonna chime in, tell us don't talk that way.
I think they'll take the division. I hate to say it.
Well, I still we'll get into that later. Atlanta, I think they're going to be battling. They're going to be 90, 95 wins probably. They always have pitching. They always have. They can develop it. They find it, and they always have it.
And guys perform like a guy like Kyle Wright, who's a good pitcher. I don't think of him as a star. Won 21 games last year.
Right.
It's just they're good.
They don't ask them to win. To do anything outside of what they're capable of, and they just get it done. And they have the same formula they've had since the 90s. So I want 2021.
I don't think Kyle Wright's healthy though. Didn't he just go on the IL recently?
Yeah. He's on IL right now. That's what Battery. We got Battery. He's my resident Braves.
Yeah, I know Soroka's back, but they optioned him to the minors, so he's not ready. But the point is, they seem to find a way. Like Spencer Strider's somewhat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't follow the Braves farm system enough, but I don't think what he did for them last year was expected. Like he was straight up dominant for most of the year, and the Phillies could not hit him at all until obviously they got to him in the postseason. But they were. It was brutal watching them offensively against him during the regular season.
Carlisle puts up this 2 of 5 starter pitchers are rookies. Any other team would be like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. For the Braves, we're like, well, that's probably a 15-game winner and a 13-game winner. I mean, that's just the facts of it with the Braves. I mean, at least.
Don't forget about Matt Olson and Austin Riley either on the team.
They're good. They're good around the line. I mean, Matt Olson, one of the premier power hitters in baseball. Austin Riley, one of the better third basemen in baseball.
MVP, I think.
Michael Harris, obviously had an incredible year last year. I mean, they're good around the diamond. They have good pieces everywhere. They're just a really good team. And you got a guy like Ronald Acuna who almost becomes a little bit of an afterthought. And we'll see. He didn't have a great year last year. He was coming off the knee injury. I mean, if he can get back to playing the right way and, to that offensive force he was a couple years ago before the injury, I mean, that's going to make them even better. But I think there's three big teams in this division. I think all three are capable of making a deep postseason run, but they all have some level of flaws. I don't know that I think the Mets or Braves are going to win 105 games again or 103 games. I think they're all somewhere between 90 and 100 if things go right.
Well, I think they got one problem they're going to have, and I hope they can make them happy, is they got two catchers that probably should be starting. They got Contreras' brother and the younger one, right? And
didn't they ship him off? I think he was traded.
Denard.
Well, they got Sean Murphy.
That's right. That's right. They got Sean Murphy. And Contreras went to.
I think he might be on Milwaukee, if I remember right.
That kid is good. So I mean, they got two good catchers. Contreras is in Milwaukee. Thank you, Murray.
If I had to pick an issue with the Braves, if I had to, as an outsider looking in, I would say probably. I think one of their glaring issues is they don't necessarily have a leader on their team because they lost Freeman, who was their leader. Then they kind of lost Swanson, who was also a pretty big vocal guy in their clubhouse. Now there's kind of like a power vacuum on their team where they don't have the guy to rally behind. So I don't know who's going to step up and take that role to keep some.
Austin Riley.
Dodgers.
I mean, that's an intangible. I would assume, Riley will be the guy.
Yeah,
but that's a thing you can't quantify with statistics, or that doesn't show up in the box score. But it is very important for baseball out of all the sports when you're playing 162 games together.
That's a good point, Ed. Very good point.
Scott, be ready. Everybody in North Carolina, as soon as the Braves are doing good, be ready, man. They're going to be wearing hats. Oh, Jesus.
I already got stared down today at Dario or wherever by some Braves fans wearing my Mets stuff. Man.
That's why you got to wear the Expos hat.
Yeah, I just wear my Expos hat. Nobody will know what the hell's going on.
Nice minor league hat, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, there's plenty of minor leagues around here too. So we'll go to the Mets now. We'll leave the Phillies for last so we can listen to Ed be happy or sad. Either way, it'll be fun to listen to. We'll go to the Mets and Dave. What do you think? What do we got? What do you think?
I think we win the division.
You think we're going to win the division?
Dave, confidence.
We'll go World Series.
Just like how Dave is confident he's going to win the fantasy championship, he's also confident in the Mets.
Yeah, we're gonna win that.
I think we're missing one bat in the middle, and with all the money we spent, we're still hurting in the pitching because you got two guys that are getting Social Security supplemental checks.
That's insane.
What's that?
That's insane. That.
Paid
some of those guys are still getting paid,
right? And Edwin Diaz, I didn't think that was a great trade, but he proved me wrong last year. I think, believe it or not, I think the whole Horns thing gave him so much confidence that he bought into how good he really could be, and that was the difference.
Who's our closer now? Is it going to be Robinson?
It's going to probably be whoever's next man up that night right now.
Buck's the kind of guy who will go on matchup.
Yeah.
If you need a manager, like I will say, obviously losing Edwin Diaz, that's $20 million down the toilet, but
doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that owner flushes $20 million down the toilet on a daily basis just for fun.
That's a big loss. But with Buck, at the helm, it should be manageable because he really truly understands how to move a bullpen. So and how to
Diaz
utilize
really
one.
Go multiple nights in a row anyway. They've had to use Diaz is not the only.
That's the thing, though. Isn't that the thing, though? The Mets. They're probably if they're probably the best, if not one of the best, for pitching staff to include the bullpen. Just not your rotation, but your bullpen guys, right? Would that not cover that?
I think they're okay in the bullpen. Is that what you're asking? I'm sorry. I was reading what Bobbles was writing down for his day. What was your question?
Yeah, I mean, if your rotation, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but just outside to still align earlier, outside looking in is, to me, the Mets has probably got the best pitching staff there is in the MLB right now. I mean, that's the rotation and the bullpen. If their bullpen is so good,
bullpen.
They don't even have to worry about a rotation, right? I mean,
they've had last year. They had 3 guys that have been closers before in their bullpen. So, but they've been closers before for a reason. So, in their rotation, yes, at one point you have 2 Cy Young winners and everybody else behind them. But those guys got so much age on them. Are they going to split? You're almost better off letting one guy start the first half of the season and then wait and bring the other guy in the second half of the season and use them as one pitcher with those 2 guys. Because I'm sorry, Scherzer, when he had dead arm at the Dodgers playoff as a Dodger, that should have been red flags for everyone to stay away from him. But instead, our manager wants to win, and I'm glad we got. Our owner. I'm glad we got an owner like that now, but it wasn't smart money. And then he goes and doubles down on Verlander. The best thing is every 5 nights, every 5th night we get to see Upton in the States. That's the best part of that.
Well, if the Mets score a lot of runs, they could also make.
But they haven't in the past, Dave. It's the same play. It's the same lineup. Our biggest void last year was at extra bat. They tried everything from Garrett Wolf to Vogelback to bringing up a guy to DH. None of it worked. We didn't do anything to solve that. We got rid of our catcher to keep Nito as our starting catcher who bats .215 and can't hit water falling out of a boat. So
yeah, he won't be up there. I don't know if he'll be doing it all year.
Come on, I'm telling you that all that money we spent, and I still can find a lot of places where not only are we below average, we are way down, comparably speaking, people in our division.
You heard it here first. Big Scott 35, Mets last place behind the Nationals in 2023.
No, I think they will. Right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they're 3rd place. But
Dave is
I wouldn't be surprised if they're in first place either.
That too. They could be anywhere from 1st to 3rd.
I think they'll be.
Cover that in a minute.
I think overall they'll be a very good regular season team. Once again, first of all, the postseason is a crapshoot as it is.
Right.
They do feel a little bit top heavy still, right? You have the 2 future Hall of Famers at the anchoring the staff. You have one unknown, the international signing. You just don't at this point know what he's going to be. You have some other, they have, I guess, a lot of depth in the starting rotation, but you never know how healthy these guys are going to stay. The loss of Diaz in the bullpen looks like it's going to be rough, but you also, like you said, have an owner who's like, if they need it, he's going to go out and get the best closer available. He's not going to care. He'll eat a loser contract to get a pitcher, He'll get a younger pitcher at a bargain and eat, some has-beens, contract that has 5 years left. He doesn't care.
I think Ed hit that on the nail, though. I don't think we need to do that. So.
Well, I'm just saying if they need it, they're gonna do that. They're gonna make those moves. So, the Mets are obviously a very good team, and there's multiple very good teams in this division.
But I want a World Series, and I don't think we're built to win the World Series. So that is what gets me a little frustrated with all the money they were spending. They just spending money and not making, to me, the smartest moves with that money. So, but here I'm working second shift Monday through Friday. I'm not the general manager. So. But anyway, enough about the Mets. I can't wait to get it started, and I hope they shut me up, and everybody goes, see, they're better than you thought they were. But I've been a Mets fan for so long and get so hyped up because we got a good team, and then we flop like we did 2 years ago and just didn't do anything.
They are
Now,
the team. It's kind of hard to believe because of the big market, and they've been there, but they actually have the longest drought in the division of winning a World Series, which is kind of surprising.
well, the
Because
previous
they're
owner
what
always screamed
86, right?
poverty. He said
Yeah.
they were a big, small market team in a big market because of the Yankees, and he was so full of shit. He just made bad business decisions in his other businesses with Bernie Madoff, and so um, that's another. But anyway, we'll go to the Phillies now. You guys, again,
Please put your headphones on at this time.
they have wow, Wheeler. If Wheeler could have pitched I think in the WBC, I think we would have had a little bit different outcome in a couple of those games. We could have spread it out, but also he makes that pitcher staff go. To me, he does. The Mets let him, of course, go when they probably should have paid him. You pick up probably the best all-around shortstop maybe in the game right now, arguably speaking.
The real Captain America.
Yes, the man showed up in the WBC and said, "Y'all don't talk about me enough. It's time to talk about me," and nobody still talks about it.
The man who led by example. The legitimate Captain America.
I agree with you, Ed. I'm 100% with Alec. Justin Turner, not Trey Turner is a great person as well. Y'all's team is strong. When you get Harper back in midseason, that'd be like a trade deadline acquisition. Reese Hoskins getting hurt. That's another player I like that plays on the wrong team. And also, is he on his walk year as well?
That injury is going to cost him a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. That sucks.
So, I want to see the best players on the field. I don't care if I'm a Mets fan. I want to see the best players play. That really stunk. What are y'all's anticipation? Where do you see your bright spots and your holes are at in y'all's with the Phillies right now?
I'll let Edwards start.
Well, the number one thing is they better not, and I'm praying to God, they better not rush Bryce Harper back. Take your time, go through the full recovery process, because I don't want him trying to rush back and then he gets re-injured, because you see that happen so many times with so many different players on various teams. Just take your time. We'll be in the thick of things. I think the team is good enough to hold their ground long enough, and he's aiming to get back around July, around the All-Star break. So don't try to rush back. The big thing with the Phillies this year is, can we please get something out of Nick Castellanos? Oh my God, they need to get something out of him this year, because he did not really do any. He didn't do much last year. He could have erased that in the playoffs. I mean, he did have a couple he had a couple huge catches in the playoffs.
I was gonna say he did get better off our defense for you.
I mean, he could have totally erased it if he had a couple more big hits, but hopefully this year he has a way better season, because they definitely need to get something out of him. They got Captain America. They got Trey Turner, Real Muto. It sucks that they lost Hoskins. I'm more optimistic on the outlook of that from the Phillies' perspective, because I'm a believer in long ball Hall. I don't think he'll give you the same on base percentage as Reese Hoskins, because Reese Hoskins does walk a lot and he gets on base a lot. But I think the power numbers should be the same or comparable. And I think you'll see a slight defensive upgrade at first base with Hall over there compared to Reese Hoskins.
It'd certainly be hard to be worse, but
yeah. So I think their defense is actually shored up a little bit. I'm really just the players I'm looking at this year to see how they do is I'm really focused on Bohm. Bohm had a really good season last year, and he was the most consistent player in the playoffs. He was insanely good in the World Series. He was pretty much the only Philly in the World Series to hit consistently. And that goes a long way with me because I just really like when players perform at the highest stage, and they should, because in my opinion, players really show you who you are on the big stage. They show you what they're made of. And he did insanely well in the World Series. I mean, not good enough to win, but he definitely did his part. So I'm curious to see how he does this season. So that's just some of my couple of thoughts on the Phillies.
baseball season's almost here.
Is that all you got to say?
I don't know what to expect with the Phillies. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for the Braves and Mets. I think the Phillies are good as well. I could see any of those three teams winning the division. I could see any three finishing in third place. That doesn't mean that any three couldn't reach the World Series. I think all three have a really strong case at making the postseason. It was really weird with the Phillies. Obviously, they reached the postseason. They broke the long drought last year, and it just caught fire. Stormed into the World Series. Just an absolutely amazing run. One of my all-time favorite runs. Just incredible. And it's like, I know people from the outside could see how like meaningful it was to the group of us here on YouTube, but I still don't know that everyone realizes just like how crazy meaningful that was, and like just an incredible ride, being able to share it with so many people. The vibes in the off season were so ridiculously positive, and like the morale was so high in the city that it didn't feel right. And sadly, reality starts to set in and some negative things start happening, and then you start having those uneasy feelings. I still feel really good about the team, but unfortunately we kind of knew that Harper, he was playing with an injured elbow last year, played through the pain, was able to hit, but he wasn't going to be able to play the field. They acted like they were going to try and see if they could rehab it. We pretty much knew it was going to end up being Tommy John. Sounds like he's doing well. You're still kind of worried until he's back and kind of doing it consistently. I don't think he'll play the field at all this year. If he does, it'll be late in the year. I think he'll be DH at some point. They're talking about it could be as early as late May. Still, the official timetable is All-Star break. I think he'll probably be back sometime in June, most likely, late June maybe. And I think it'll start out being DHing a little bit and working his way into a full-time DH. Certainly look forward to seeing Harper on the field. Couldn't be more excited to see him again. But like Ed said, you got to be careful with him. He's got another 9 years left on his contract or whatever it is. He's still the face of the franchise. He's one of the faces of baseball. So it's going to be a great addition when he's back. Obviously, the Trey Turner addition was huge. The injuries are the worrisome part. Obviously, we know we're going to be without Harper to start the year. Everyone was up on the 19-year-old Andrew Painter, best pitching prospect in baseball. All of a sudden, the elbow's sore. He was expected to win the fifth spot in the rotation, which would have given him a really strong 1 through 5. Shut down for a month with a UCL sprain, light sprain. They think he's going to be okay, but once you hear that with a young pitcher, you get a little nervous. Ranger Suarez, incredibly important during the playoffs. Awesome in the NLCS, awesome in the World Series. Gets called back from the World Baseball Classic. Now he's going to start the year on the DL, or he's going to start with pitching a couple innings at most. So there's some worry there. And then, of course, the Reese Hoskins injury, which I do think is a big deal. I think Hall could be good. He's been really good in the minors, and he was good in his stint in the majors last year. I think he'll provide power, but we just don't know what he is yet. We know what Reese Hoskins is. Reese Hoskins is a really good major league first baseman, going to hit you 30 home runs, 85 RBIs, hit like 250, walks a ton. I think him and Schwarber were two of the top guys in the league at pitches per plate appearance thrown, which are the small things that the casual baseball fan doesn't care about, but it is important. it helps the rest of your team get to see the pitcher. It helps wear down a staff a little bit. It plays a lot over the course of games, series, and the season. He's the leader. I mean, he's the longest tenured position player. And it hurts the depth. Even if Derek Hall comes in and hits 35 home runs, 85 RBIs, hits 240, 250, you'll take that. But now instead of him DHing half the year, now he's going to play first base, and now one of your outfielders is going to be like Scott Kingery or Jake Cave, and those guys have played incredible during the preseason, but it's the preseason. All of a sudden, those guys, Josh Harrison, are starting every day. That hurts the depth a little bit. So I think they'll make moves if they need to be. I still feel really good about the team. Trey Turner, huge addition. Obviously, all these guys are confident. I like a lot of the guys they've acquired. Guys have improved. Guys like Brandon Marsh, Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm. I'm really excited to see what they do. Of course, we know the star names. Nick Castellanos is going to be a key. They got to get something out of a guy making $25 million a year. He hit like 12 home runs last year and hit like 250. They're going to need more like 25 and 260 at least. He's going to have to be more of a force, especially losing the right-handed bat of Hoskins. And the rotation is solid 1 through 5, but can your guy's former boy, Taijuan Walker, can he do it for a full year? He's had some really good first halves and then faded in the second half. Wheeler and Nola both threw more innings than they ever have before last year, which is a little nerve-wracking. I actually would like to see them do like a 6-man rotation for a little while to kind of reduce their innings, keep them fresher for later in the year because they have such big workloads. Nola, that's another thing. A lot of people thought he was going to sign a contract extension, and they broke off talks. Whatever, it shouldn't matter for this season, but I feel like it's just could be bad vibes, but hopefully not. I think the clubhouse is strong enough where it won't be, but it does incentivize him a little bit to pitch better because Aaron Nola will be one of the best, starting pitchers in the offseason. He'll probably get $30 million a year for 5 years if he has a really good year, because that's just the way pitchers get paid now. And I think their bullpen's really good. Their bullpen is really strong, at least compared to past years. So I think they'll be good. So if everyone's tired of hearing about the Phillies, you can always just go watch one of my videos and see me show off a bunch more Phillies cards and yell at me there.
Well, that's why I left those teams, the Nats, Mets, this division last, because these are the ones that are close to our hearts, the ones we probably watch and definitely watch the most games of.
Baseball season is almost here. It's like awesome to think about.
Thursday, all 30 teams, I believe, for the first time are playing on opening day. So I'm starting to have an itchy throat, little cough going for Thursday, I think. I'm not sure yet.
I love the excitement of opening day, like the optimism of spring. Even the Pirates go in at 0-0, with a chance to be in first place after the opening day. But the Phillies wise, and that's why I like to see teams. Obviously, I want the Phillies to always be successful, but I like to see teams like the Pirates get good for a while because you see what a winning culture, a winning season, a great run can do for the sport. I look at like my nephew who's 7 years old, and he liked baseball, but he was still of the age where he didn't really know the players. And now it's like he has all these favorite players and loves JT Realmuto, and he's so excited for baseball season, so excited to go to a game. He's finally he got my brother to sign him up for Little League this year, so he's going to start playing, and that kind of stuff is just super, super cool. And he's always been into Pokemon cards, and I think I've now created a baseball card collector, and hopefully, for life. So I like that aspect too.
Okay, well, real quick, we're coming down to the end where we got to get to our draft.
What time's our draft start? What time's first pick? 9:15, I hope. Oh, thank God.
So
I've already picked the first pick. It's already in the queue.
Shohei Ohtani.
Nah, don't do it. He just said he's going back to Japan, Dave. Skip him. Draft Gary Sanchez. He's going to hit 40 home runs this year.
You got me, Nats.
800 strikeouts, yeah.
Hey, Nats man, real quick, your World Series pick. Both teams.
Ooh.
American League, National League, going around the horn.
I'm going to say the Yankees and the Braves.
Yankees, Braves. Micah.
Oh God, I haven't even thought about it.
That's why I didn't say it as.
Just say it.
Padres Astros.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Oh, that's close to what I was thinking.
Okay, Dave.
I'll say what I say every year. Subway Series, baby.
It's a good share. You really got a good shot. Ed, what do you think?
Rematch Astros Phillies.
And that's what I got. Rematch Astros Phillies. And the Phillies might get a hit in all the games this year.
That would be a nice.
Real quick, though, out there, what in the hobby world, who are you looking at to, be the guy that you might go outside of your regular hobby?
Are you looking for investment advice?
I'm looking for investment advice. Yes.
Long ball Paul.
That's your Phillies guy. That's your Phillies guy. Anybody else outside of
And not Juan Soto.
anybody else outside of your normal, what you're looking for? I don't even know at this point for myself. I've been kind of thinking it, but anybody has a thought over here in the chat, or anybody watches this later, please put down below who you're looking to collect this year. Who do you think is going to be somebody that's going to go off, and we're all going to make, man, I wish I had some shares of that guy. Because I feel like I'm already ahead of the curve, because I think the one guy that really is going to come on this year, and I've been singing his praises since the Mets let him go, is Kellenic. He's one guy I think that might have a very good season, and those guys from that rookie class that had to come through the pandemic are starting to catch up with everybody else, because they kind of got left behind a little bit.
So, don't fall into the spring training trap. You're falling into the spring training trap.
I'm going off of last year's numbers, so he had a great end of season.
I think I like Bobby Witt. I don't think he gets the attention he deserves, because everyone's so focused on Julio Rodriguez, who I think is a spectacular player. Unfortunately, a lot of people go by, I guess, just all the values and stuff. Like Wander Franco, you would think he was a bust and out of baseball with, he suffered an injury last year, and injuries do happen. So we'll see. But I do like him. And there's a huge, huge rookie class this year. I mean, we saw a lot of guys in Series 1. There's a lot of guys who will be in Series 2. I don't know if people have checked it out, but Topps Big League releases in a few days. They released their checklist. There's a lot of guys on that checklist that weren't in Series 1, like Francisco Alvarez and Corbin Carroll and a few others. So I think it's going to be a fun rookie class. I think there's a lot of young players around baseball. I think it's fun to watch baseball. People should watch baseball. And watch Shohei Ohtani, because he's freaking awesome too.
Yeah,
you should collect Shohei Ohtani because he's an awesome baseball player. That's what I'll say.
Well said. All right, guys. Well, we're almost 2 hours. We got the draft coming up. We got to get ready for it, because we got to put our minds together to beat the great Lou Rock. He's over here talking trash. So if I do anything, that's who I got to be. Just kidding, Lou. So all of these guys are on channels. We got Myco on Myco TV. Also has an eBay store. Dave's Midlife Card Crisis. Mr. Westgriff, Ed. So I think they all have their there you go, channels there. I'll try to put them in the notes below if I think about it later. So please like, share, tell a friend. Let me know who you're looking for, anything that we missed, anything like that down below. Tell me who your pick to click is. Until next time, see ya.
Long ball Hall.
Go Phils.